Hello, good morning, good afternoon or good evening to wherever it is you're listening to this podcast. My name is Andy Strong and welcome back to the Fundamentally Fit podcast. We are on episode number 15 today. We've got one topic on the agenda and that is the Rocky Ridge Trail Half Marathon out in California in the Las Trampas National Park. I've been away in Sanfrancisco for the last 10 days, enjoying a nice, I say relaxing holiday. We managed to do 2 events while we were there. And today I'm going to give you a rundown on some of the things I learned, some of the things I took away from San Francisco, which for those who have been will understand it is quite a unique city, and I'm going to tell you all about the events that we did, what was good, what was tough, what I'd do again, what maybe didn't go quite so well, and I'm just going to give you my overall race review. Now I hope you've enjoyed episodes number 14 and episodes number 13, recorded those before I went away, so episode 13 I was giving you a little bit of rundown on where Fundamentally Fit is as a business, a little bit of behind the scenes about what I'm working on, the new direction that I'm taking the business. If you're interested in that and learning a little bit more about the nutrition services that we're going to be offering pretty much from October onwards, please go back to episode number 13 or do get in touch. If you want to hear about the importance of health checks and some of the kind of new ways that the NHS is trying to start and use health checks in a more creative way, then head over to podcast episode number 14. Some really useful content, particularly number 14. It's a really good podcast, and also while I've been away I've had a series of different videos going out over on the Fundamentally Fit Facebook page. We've been talking about digestive health. There's some videos on there. We've been talking about the importance of getting your blood pressure checked and health checks again, having a bit of a health focus, so all of that is out there if you want to go and get stuck in to something other than this podcast. But for today we're going to jump into today's topic, the Rocky Ridge Half Marathon and San Francisco. Hang on. One thing that I did come back to, so going back to episode number 14, the last one, I was talking about it was the one before that, episode 13. Anyway, too many numbers. I was talking about having recently completed a long-term nutrition qualification, which I've been doing with Body Type Nutrition and Ben Coomber. So over a year and a half's work gone into this, 12 months into the main practical academy, and then it's a 10 to 12 weeks initial foundation academy before you can complete the main event, the main qualification. Finally completed that. I think I finished with something like 97%, 95.7%, something like that. Very high scores. Really happy. It was all really cool. And then I got back off holiday, and rather than being greeted by a massive pile of bills, which is usually the way when you come back from holiday, and there were plenty of those, I was quite happy to receive a very shiny, very nice certificate from Body Type Nutrition, signed by Mr. Ben Coomber himself, with the certificate for my new qualification. So thank you for that, Ben. Thank you very much to the Body Type Nutrition. Loved the course. Can't wait to get more involved with Body Type Nutrition as the years go on, as I'm sure they'll be doing more events and more opportunities to teach more people out there and kind of spread that important message of looking after yourself and basically how to educate yourself on better health and nutrition. Right, 4 minutes in, that's a lot of rambling. Let's do this. Let's jump into the podcast. So, I have just got back from San Francisco. Fantastic holiday, fantastic time. Unseasonably warm weather. We've managed to get like the week that was the perfect weather, which literally never happens to me, but it was awesome. So we got there. Weather was about 26 degrees. A couple of days in, it went up to about 30 degrees. It was like this for 2-3 days. Then it came back down to about 26, 25 degrees. And it was absolutely beautiful. Very little fog, and apparently very unseasonably warm. Obviously, I just assumed rather foolishly that California is always nice, but apparently not quite the case in San Francisco. So we'd set this holiday up. It was meant to be a city break, but obviously a rest as well. We were there for 10 days, and we planned it so that when we arrived the Sunday, so we travelled on the Friday, arrived kind of back to front. So we arrived at the Friday evening. So having been up almost 24 hours, just over 24 hours by the time we went to bed, the time zones didn't really work very well. And then on the Sunday, we'd entered the Aloha 5K. And this was just a little local 5K that we'd found before we went, and it was a bit of a confusing getting up early because body clocks were all over the place. Managed to get ourselves an Uber or Lyft, as they use out there, down to the start line because didn't really have our bearings at that point. And it's a beautiful morning, cool. The sun's coming up, and we're walking along this trail kind of path just alongside the main bay of Sanfrancisco, and then you can see the Golden Gate Bridge, and the sun's coming up, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it was really, really good. Quite a big field, about 1,000 people in this 5K. The intention was to just run for fun, and actually collect a local medal, meet some local people, and running events wherever you go, anywhere in the world, they're always really, really super friendly. So it's something I really recommend you do if you're going away. Look and see what the local race is. Go and see if there's a 5K or a 10K. Maybe not something too serious if you're on holiday, but it is a really, really good way to get a feel for the local area. It's great to pick up a running t-shirt and a running medal from somewhere else as well. It's nice to add to your collection, something a little bit different. But we rocked up. It was a mixed field, and I knew it wasn't going to be the most serious of races when they had what they call corrals or starting pens, and they had the little banners up, and it was anybody that was faster than, I think, a 7-minute or a 6.5-minute mile was classed as super fast. And I was like, this is going to be interesting. And then a 5K and a 10K, most of them being the 10Ks, and just a couple of us in the fast wave for the 5K. Lots of people in the 5K, but not in the fast wave. So we set off. Buzzer goes off, actually blows into because it's the Aloha 5K, they actually blow into a shell, which was definitely a new one and a first for me. I never had a race started by blowing into a shell, but that was quite fun. And you head out in a straight line down the main road, which is closed off, and then you loop back round at the end, and then you come back along the water. You take an Alcatraz in the bay, and then you run alongside the water, like on a trail track now, and then you run directly towards the Golden Gate Bridge. You go to pretty much to the foot of the Golden Gate Bridge underneath, turn around, come back, across Chrissy Fields, and then you finish the 5K, 2 loops for the 10K, 1 for the 5. And actually, it went rather well. I was, by the time I'd got to, I think it was about 2 miles, I'd managed to crawl my way through the crowd, and I'd kind of got up to about, I think it was about 5th position. Got to the turnaround point to come back for what was probably the last mile and a half, maybe a little bit less, and then managed to catch the 4th place person. And then with about, I think it was about 3/4 of a mile to go, I could see the 3rd place runner in front of me, and I'm chasing him down as hard as I can, and I'm closing the gap. And then as I just kind of come round the corner, there's an aid station, and he stopped for a drink. So absolutely put the hammer down, went for it, couldn't quite catch 2nd place, but managed to finish in 3rd place, which was really cool. Not something that I've done before, so it was nice to finish on the podium. And then when the results came in, managed to finish 1st in my age group as well, which was even better. And for that, I managed to win a $25 voucher for the local sports shop, which was cool. And also got a top finishers t-shirt as well. So and a flip-flop medal. Don't forget the flip-flop medal, because that was cool. Everyone gets the flip-flop medal. And this was a great little event. It was never meant to be too serious. There weren't any super fast runners there, although to be fair, most of the super fast ones were in the 10K. Still did a respectable time, just over 20 minutes, but a little way off, probably about 60 seconds off of my PB for the year. And actually, if you look at Parkrun in Bushy, we have a super competitive field with lots of people running around 17 minutes. 17 to 19 minutes is generally the really, really fast people. But it was nice. It was great to finish on the podium. I enjoyed it. It was good fun. And that was the Aloha 5K. Now, this one was always meant to just be for a little bit of fun. But when I was looking for an event, and I said to Kirsty, hey, why don't we see if there's an event to do while we're in San Francisco? And she's like, oh, that's a great idea. And when I was going through the list, I found another race the following week. And this race is called the Rocky Ridge Trail Half Marathon, and it's actually part of the Ultra Half Marathon Trail series put on by a company called Brazen Events. Now, although you might be off to California, cool, check them out. If you're not, maybe go check their website out anyway. Brazen Events, awesome company, really, really cool company, and their events are crazy hard, but also crazy fun as well. And I found this event, and I said to Kirsty, do you fancy doing a trail half marathon, kind of jokingly, while we're in San Francisco? And she's like, let's have a look, and showed her the pictures, and she's like, oh my god, it looks amazing. Okay, let's do it. So we rather hastily entered, along with the Aloha 5k, and then we kind of started to understand what this event entailed, and it's just under 4,000 feet of climbing. So to put that into perspective, Ben Nevis, I think, is about 4,400 feet of climbing, which is the highest peak in the UK up in Scotland. So this is a lot of climbing for a half marathon. So this was going to be a difficult day, to say the least, and we decided, right, we need to do lots of training. We did some walks up at Box Hill, just because, trying to get in some extra mileage in terms of climbing and steepness, but it wasn't really enough. We did all of our long runs over at Richmond Park, which was cool. But anybody who's run around Richmond Park, it's lumpy, but it certainly isn't 4,000 feet's worth of lumpy. And actually, ultimately, you can't train for a trail half marathon in the mountains without a mountain. So this proved pretty tricky. Did plenty of strength training going into this, and then we kind of decided, well, we've done everything we can, we've done plenty of miles, that's not going to be a problem. And it's called an ultra half marathon because actually it's 14 miles, and also because it's bloody hard, and it takes a really long time to do. So I think my Geneva half earlier in the year was around 1:35, 1 hour 35. So pretty good time, fairly respectable. The Rocky Ridge half marathon, however, actually took us 5 hours. Now, I'm going to talk you through how we ended up at that time and actually how the race works out. But this was quite a day. And my legs it's now Thursday morning, Thursday after the race, and my legs, I can just start to walk down the stairs properly. So this race is tough. So I got to Saturday, so we got to Friday, run on the Saturday. Got to Friday, and we headed out of San Francisco, jumped on the train, headed out to Walnut Creek, jumped on a bus down to a little town called Danville, which was where they were doing the pre-registration. Really nice little town, kind of classic American town. Picked up our race number. Checked the board, which is the photo for this podcast, written up on the board outside. I had a chat with the staff there, and they pretty much thought we were nuts. Two crazy Brits, clearly have never run the parks, they've never run the mountains, don't know what they're letting themselves in for, have entered what is Brazen Racing's hardest event, and their events are known for being difficult anyway. And we're kind of like, well, every race I've ever entered, they always tell you it's hard. Every Ironman you do, they've got a hill in it called the Beast. And ultimately, race organisers want you to finish their events. They want you to be successful, because if you're successful, you enjoy it, you have a good experience, you come back, you enter another one of their events, their business works, everybody's happy, everybody's had a good day. This race, however, has a lot of hype around it, and a lot of people saying how hard it is. It's the hardest race they've ever done. It's the benchmark for every race they ever compare is compared to Rocky Ridge. And it turns out that for the first time, they weren't making it up. This race is crazy hard. It is ridiculously hard. But we registered, and then we headed off to our hotel. And then the next morning, we were picked up. Managed to get somebody from the race came and one of the competitors came and picked us up from our hotel very kindly. So thank you to Thomas. Came and picked us up, took us down to the race start, and then that was that. So we're down at the race start, early morning. There's a little bit of fog about. There's music playing. Everything's set up, ready to go. And then it's really starting to dawn on us as we've driven into the park how big all of these hills are, or mountains are. And then you're going through the start process, and you're all on the start line, probably, I guess, maybe about 600 people. Not huge, but there's a half marathon, a 10k and a 5k all on the same day. And although you might think, oh, I could do the 5k, I could do the 10k, each one of these is crazy hard. Each one goes basically straight up. And some of the inclines on these are just absolutely unrunnable. How some of the whippets at the front manage to run up these is just the mind boggles, because these inclines are just straight up. There's no way around it. They are literally straight up, and it was really interesting. And this race kind of lures you in. So you start off and you've got a steady climb for 2 miles, taking in a good amount of ascent, and it builds up really quickly, but the trails are relatively gradual. You're climbing, you can run pretty much all of it. The views are beautiful. There's like low-lying clouds. It's kind of slightly foggy. It's just starting, the mist is just starting to clear on the hilltops and the mountaintops, and it is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful, absolutely stunning. I cannot say that enough. I'm going to be sharing a video later today, a little short video of the event itself. So go check it out. Go check out the videos. It's going to be on YouTube, Fundamentally Fit's YouTube channel, and it's going to be over on Fundamentally Fit's Facebook page. You need to see this race. It was super, super cool. But what it happens is you do this 2 mile climb, and then you've got 3 or 4 miles afterwards, which kind of is gently rolling hills, but totally manageable. Then you get to an aid station. And then you think, right, okay, now this is the first big climb of the day. And you think, right, everything's going well. We've got here, you have to hit mile 9 by a certain time, which basically means you have to achieve 24-minute miling. Now, for anybody who runs knows that is basically a fast walk. Okay, so you have to achieve 24-minute miling. So this was our goal. We were running together, myself and Kirsty, and the aim was that we would get to mile 9, preferably much before that. And by the time we got to sort of mile 6, before we went up the first big climb, we were way, way ahead. We had about 55 minutes, maybe an hour up our sleeves ahead of time, which is what we'd hoped for. And then we hit the big hill. And this hill, I've never seen anything like it. How people run up it is somewhat beyond me, but this thing is like near vertical. It's every single step is like, I don't know, it's just crazy. How people run up it is just so different to anything that we run in the UK. But it kind of got to the point where you're climbing, you're stopping, you're climbing, you're stopping. And at this point, it's starting to get hot too. So that, I'm told that it was actually quite a mild day, but it was still, I guess, probably 25, maybe a little bit more degrees. And we get to the top, absolutely exhausted. And then it starts to roll down just a little bit. You have a little bit of a trail, and then basically you're on one side of the mountains, and then dead opposite is actually the Rocky Ridge Trail, and you can see where you're going to be going next. And you can see basically you've got some switchbacks, and you watch the runners running down. Basically the trail runs down, brings you back down to what is effectively the same height or start point, just around the corner from the start line, and then you run up another long road, which takes you all the way back up, even higher than you've just been, onto the Rocky Ridge Trail itself. And we get down, and we manage to get there. We're both pretty tired, and we get to the aid station at 9 with about 25 minutes to spare. So we'd lost a lot of time that we had in the middle bit, but it was fine because we were still on course to get round for what we wanted. And once you get to 9 miles, you're safe. You're on the course. You can go and finish the run. So we hit the aid station, and then we start piling in jelly babies, Smarties, fig rolls, Coca-Cola, basically everything that they've got. And this is when it dawned on us that we'd made an epic mistake, a classic fail that you should never ever make, and something that I actually train people on all the time. when we planned this race, obviously we knew it was going to be hilly. We knew it was going to take us a bit longer than a normal half marathon, but we'd both kind of gone, they're just making out it's harder than it really is. And it really wasn't. And at this point, we absolutely realised this. We had running backpacks, so we had plenty to drink, so we were well hydrated. That was not a problem. The problem was that we hadn't planned our nutrition well enough. We'd taken what we would take for a standard half marathon, taking a standard amount of time for us over that distance. We also didn't have a proper breakfast going into the event because we'd taken some pre-packet porridge, which we normally do for an event like this, but because we had an American brand, it was incredibly sweet and very, very difficult to eat, and we probably only ate about half of what we should have done. So we've come into this event much under, well, actually, the night before, we'd had a very a very interesting meal at our hotel, let's just say that, which was totally not suitable for a running event like this, and it was terrible. So we were under fueled going in from the night before. We were also under fueled in terms of what nutrition we'd taken on during the event. So we'd kind of got to the 7 mile mark, hit the big hill, 2-3 miles uphill, and it was at this point that our energy kind of really hit the wall, and we'd both assumed that this was just because the hill was really hard. And don't get me wrong, that hill is an absolute animal. But we'd massively underprepared for our nutrition, and it wasn't until we got to mile 9 at the aid station when we started putting in some nutrition and then started to all of a sudden both go, oh my God, I feel a lot better. Oh my God, my legs are working. And we actually got into a bit of a rhythm, and we got up the next hill up onto the Rocky Ridge Trail at a fairly good pace. Now we still had to walk really big chunks of this, because it's still, this climb up to the top of the Rocky Ridge is, again, it's no getting around it. It's really, really steep, and the 10k actually just runs straight up this hill and along the top. So it's like most of the people doing the 10k were taking, I think it was about 2 or 3 hours. So it's a long hard run, whichever one you choose. We get up on top of the Rocky Ridge. Finally, we start to get some running back in, some sensible running. We get a bit of pace back in, start clocking off the miles a little bit quicker, stop for a few photos, stop at the last aid station at the very top, take on some more nutrition, more Coca-Cola, a little bit of caffeine and sugar. Everything starts to come good. And then you've got the run down. And this is the other problem, or the other challenge of Rocky Ridge. When you look at the map and the elevation, it goes up pretty much straight up, straight back down to where you were, and then straight back up again and straight back down. So you make this assumption, right, I've got 2-3 miles of real big climbing here, and then I've got 2-3 miles of really big climbing here, and then I've got the downhills, so I'll be able to run the downhills and make up the time I lost on the uphill. Fair assumption. However, so much of the downhills are just as steep, and actually they're really, really, you either can't run them, or your knees are so tired from the climbing, your quads are so tired from the climbing, that you actually don't have a lot of control on the descent, or the terrain is so steep and slippy. Running downhill is really difficult, so you can only run downhill small sections. And at this point, we've been going for a long time and we're really tired, so you have to factor in, you could pick up an injury quite easily. So we managed to get down, managed to catch a couple more runners. And then we came into the finish, had our Union Jack with us, which was really cool. Came in, they're all cheering, all the Brazen racers are there. They're all cheering us in, which was really cool. I came around the corner with our flag, and they're all shouting, "The British are coming!" So I shouted to tell them to stick the kettle on, and it was really good. And we finished. Got a huge medal, size of a dinner plate. We got an ice cream sandwich, which was really cool. Well, it was refreshing, let's just say that. And then we managed to get a lift back from some of the other races back to the bus stop, which was really cool. So thank you very much for that. And it was just a really, really challenging day, but it was one of the, hands down, it was the most beautiful race I've ever done. It was one of the most challenging races I have ever done. I would put it up there as being harder than Ironman, and I would say my legs were more sore than Ironman for the last week, because it's real focused muscle groups. This race is interesting for lots of reasons. It was a real privilege to be able to go and experience the Las Trampas wilderness. It was a real privilege to go and enjoy those trails, to go and run with all of those other runners that get to experience it all the time. It was a privilege to be able to meet the people that we did. It was a privilege to be able to go and have the opportunity to just do this event. It was super hard. Would I have wanted to do the 10K? No, actually the half marathon was the challenge. It was our big event for the year, big event for the summer. I'm really pleased I did it. I'm really pleased we ran together, because it's now a really nice shared holiday experience for me and Kirsty, and it's something that made our holiday really unique. It got us out the city, it got us to go and see a part of California that we just wouldn't have seen otherwise, and we just physically couldn't have gone and explored those trails on our own. It wouldn't have been safe to do so, but in the environment of this race, following the ribbons with the map and everything set up with the aid stations, made it super safe, super easy, and a huge thank you to the Brazen racing team. We were the crazy Brits that came and did your event. We absolutely loved it. Your race is every bit as hard, challenging, fun, and utterly ridiculous as you say it is, but I shall wear that finisher's t-shirt with pride, and I shall hang that medal up in the gym with some of the photos from the event. Hands down, amazing race. If you're ever in California, Brazen Racing, go and check out one of their races. Phenomenal. If you're ever in San Francisco, go check out the Aloha run, the Aloha 5K. Again, really nicely organised, really nice race. So that was the Las Trampas Rocky Ridge Half Marathon. Really hard. Didn't plan on attrition well. Suffered as a result for it, but nonetheless, a really good day and a really good event. Go and check out the video on Facebook and YouTube, see the photos. Why do we do this? And a lot of people said to me, oh, you're nuts, you're going on holiday, you're doing these events. I've talked about this in the podcast before. Doing these events is a way of seeing parts of the world that you wouldn't normally get to see. It's a way of meeting people that you wouldn't normally get to meet. So we met some really nice people at this event. We got lifts from people that were running the event to and from, so thank you very much. That's a really cool thing to do. But also, you just can't see, you couldn't go and see the Rocky Ridge on your own without a local to show you round. You know, when we went to the Outer Hebrides earlier in the year to do Marathon, as a previous podcast on that, you know, you do this with your friends, you go and see parts of the world you wouldn't normally see, and, you know, it's a unique experience that you won't forget. That makes our whole San Francisco holiday memory a really special one, because we did something different, we did something personal, and it was really good fun. That to me is what being healthy and fit is all about. It's getting you to places you wouldn't normally do. It's getting you to do things you wouldn't normally be able to do. So I have rambled on now for 27 minutes about my holiday, about the Rocky Ridge Half Marathon. If you fancy the Rocky Ridge Half Marathon, go check out Brazen Racing, as I've said already. But next week we'll be back. We will be picking apart the news. I've got a couple of topics up my sleeve already. There's been quite a lot going on while I've been away. So we're going to break all that down. If you are looking for a new challenge, as I've said this before, it's now October, sat here today, which means that we need to be thinking about autumn and winter goals. Don't wait until January to set yourself some new goals, whether that is looking at changing your diet, setting yourself some new running goals, setting yourself some new fitness goals. If you wait until January and you leave this period between September right through till December and beyond, then you're going to put on all the weight that you've lost through the summer. You're going to lose all the fitness that you've gained through the summer. Set yourself some new goals, give yourself a new focus. I'm doing the same thing. We've done the Rocky Ridge Half Marathon now. Next week I've got the Cabbage Patch 10 miler over in Twickenham, and then 2 weeks after that I've got the Walton-on-Thames Half Marathon, and then I'm going to do the Kingston 10K in, I think it's end of November or start of December. So my race calendar is full. It's going to keep me motivated. It's going to get me out training as the weather now starts to change. Make sure you're doing the same thing. Set yourself some new goals. As always, if you need some help with that, get in touch, andy@fundamentallyfit.co.uk, or if you would like some help with your diet or with some nutrition coaching, then do please get in touch as well. Until next time, I'm Andy Strong, helping you to eat smart, train smart, do ridiculous races on holiday, and stay fundamentally fit. I will see you in episode 16.